Hello everyone and welcome to the Geelong Community Solar webinar. We are so happy you're here. It's wonderful to see a range of different businesses in attendance. This webinar is your chance to learn about the future of energy solutions for business and an invitation to participate in our Community Solar Bulk Buy program, which has been designed to increase the uptake of renewable energy in our region and save you money at the same time. My name is Trina and I'm the Executive Officer of Greenlight. Greenlight is the social enterprise of Geelong Sustainability, which is a registered not-for-profit and environmental organisation that empowers people to protect and regenerate the planet. We are your very first step on the sustainability journey and provide residential, business and whole of community scale sustainability solutions. However, before I share more about the webinar, I'd like to do a welcome to country, if I may. On behalf of Geelong Sustainability, I'd like to acknowledge that we meet on the land of the Wathaurong people, the traditional owners of this land. I wish to pay respect to their elders, past, present and future, and acknowledge the important role all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people play within Australia and the Geelong community. So let's get into and talk about the benefits of being involved in the Geelong Community Solar Program. The Geelong Community Solar Program was created by Geelong Sustainability, supported by 5 local councils to advance sustainability through increased renewable energy in the region. Mondo and RACV Solar were appointed as delivery partners of the program and have done an amazing job thus far, with over 80 customers having invested in a solar or battery system as part of the program. It's a region-wide program for residents and businesses where you'll be able to access quality equipment and leading warranties. The installation will be delivered by RACV Solar's network of local solar providers. And the best news is that with every system installed, a community donation will be attributed towards the community virtual power plant. Today we have energy industry experts from RACV Solar and Mondo with us who will be discussing how businesses are moving beyond solar to smart, integrated, clean energy solutions. You'll be hearing from Pat Tail, the Head of Business Development at RACV Solar, and Bronte Wilson, Senior Product Analyst at Mondo. So without further ado, we're about to start the webinar. So I'm going to pass you on to Bronte and Pat, who will tell you more about the program and how you can be involved.
Thanks so much, Trina. Thanks, Geelong Sustainability, and thanks everyone for coming. We're really excited to be here presenting with Geelong Sustainability and Mondo today. Really looking forward to showing you a variety of ways that your business could save with solar and possibly batteries too. And that's regardless of whether you're renting and you don't own the property you occupy or you don't have the cash to fund the project. We have a whole range of solutions that are starting to become really popular to get through some of those common pitfalls. I'm Head of Business Development here at RACV Solar. My name's Pat. And at RACV Solar, we're one of the largest solar installers in Australia. We design, supply and install really small systems for residential properties through to medium and large scale solar and battery solutions for shopping centres, hospitals and so forth. We do a lot of EV charging, we do energy management and a whole lot more. We can also help organisations with their sustainability objectives. So we can work through with organisations to determine their total emissions, so vehicle fleet emissions, natural gas, electricity and so forth, and then build a cost-effective and practical plan for them to meet their net zero targets or whatever other objective they may have. Of course, we're backed and owned by RACV, which has existed since 1908, so over nearly 120 years. And today we have over 2.2 million members and generate over $1 billion in annual revenue. But we are a member-owned mutual organisation, and that means that all profits that we generate must be reinvested back into improving the services that we deliver to our members. Our purpose is to improve the lives of all Victorians, so we really care about the communities in which we live and work. Given the scale, the stability and the purpose of RACV, we really believe that we're a very, very safe choice, especially in partnership with Mondo and Geelong sustainability through the Geelong Community Solar Program. As Trina said, we've already got 80 or so customers that have signed up to the program, which is really, really exciting, and looking forward to going through some solutions with you all today to see how we might be able to help you as well. Bronte, over to you for your introduction.
Thanks, Trina and Pat, for the introduction to the program, as well as today's session and what it's all about. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bronte, a Senior Product Analyst in the Energy Services team at Mondo, and I'm leading Mondo's role in the Geelong Community Solar Program, which we're really excited to see grow from strength to strength over the coming weeks. My background is in economics and finance, but I've held different roles across different industries before finding a passion for renewable energy solutions at Mondo. Mondo is really focused on capturing value through centralized and decentralized energy transitions, from connecting new wind farms to the grid, to aggregating customers' decentralized energy assets to provide services to the grid. Being an innovator in energy solutions is enabled by our in-house energy proprietary management hardware and software platform, which enhances the value that customers can realize from their assets, as well as enhancing the visibility of those assets so customers can understand the performance of them over their life. As a subsidiary of network business AusNet, Mondo brings deep engineering domain knowledge and asset management experience to our solutions, which extends beyond energy management services to encompass financing options as well, such as power purchase agreements. We'll be covering this off in more detail later in the session, and so I'll take the opportunity now to introduce some of the other items we're going to be discussing today.
And just quickly, before we move on to the agenda, Bronte, just to point out to everyone that we do have a Q&A function, so please do add any questions into that Q&A section, and we've got a whole team of people from Geelong Sustainability, from Mondo and RACV Solar to answer any and all questions that you might have.
Great, so really quickly, we're going to start off the session today talking about the benefits of solar and storage solutions for businesses, before moving on to talk about applicable incentives and rebates that are on offer at the moment, the pros and cons of different finance options, the cost of those systems relative to the benefits, how we make solutions work for customers where there's tenants and landlords, and why RACV and Mondo are a great choice for you to consider when looking at going renewable. So to kick us off, I'm going to be talking about some of the key benefits that businesses can realize by investing in solar and storage solutions, starting with, oh, sorry, jumped ahead. Starting with energy bill savings. But before I jump in, Pat, would you mind just providing a quick overview of the difference between kilowatts and kilowatt hours?
Yeah, sure. I think that's a pretty important place to start because your energy bill often has those two components. So for most commercial properties, you'll see kilowatts and kilowatt hour related demand charges. Kilowatt and kilowatt hour related charges. So kilowatt hours is the amount of energy that your property consumes per day, and kilowatts is the amount of power, the maximum amount of power coming onto the property at any one time. So kilowatts, you can imagine it's almost like the size of the engine, and kilowatt hours is a bit like the size of the fuel tank, right? So these are important distinctions, and solar and battery systems can help reduce both kilowatts and kilowatt hours on your energy bill, and in doing so can really save you a lot of money.
Great. So just to extend on that, I want you to imagine that your energy profile today is the black line on the graph. By adding in solar, you'll offset grid energy with solar energy during the day and reduce your grid energy profile to the orange line you see there. By reducing this, you will reduce your usage charges on your bill, which are based on the number of kilowatt hours you use during a period. And you can also reduce your usage charges by charging the battery with excess solar during the day and discharging it when you're using energy in the evening or early morning. The other component on a lot of businesses' bills are demand charges, a component of your overall network charges. Demand charges are complicated and vary in structure between customers and networks. However, they were generally calculated based on the maximum amount of power you draw from the grid during different defined time windows. Batteries that are intelligently managed can discharge during those spikes in demand or those peaks in demand to effectively lop them or smooth your energy profile, which can significantly reduce demand charges on customers' bills. This smoothing in spikes of demand is represented in the orange line as well. The next benefit is increased resiliency. A trend that we're observing with residential customers in the program at the moment is an increase in the number of customers who are opting to install a battery with their solar system. Customers' desire to support critical loads during power interruptions is not surprising given the wild weather we've had in Victoria over the past 12 months, and is also a valid value proposition for businesses. For example, a 100 kilowatt hour battery may be able to back up a business's load for 1 to 2 hours and avoid losing stock, or supplement an existing generator on the site. In addition to providing customers with resiliency solutions through solar and battery, Mondo is also actively involved in supporting the grid integrate more renewable energy. And one way that we're doing that is by leading nationally significant projects which trial new mechanisms for customers to make money with their assets that are providing grid services. Similarly, in this program, we are enabling residential customers to sign up to a virtual power plant and earn additional money from their batteries, which is something we hope to offer to businesses in the coming 12 months.
Yeah, just to add to that, Bronte, we have a lot of business customers coming to us these days to talk about batteries. Only a few years ago, it was pretty much just about solar, and the conversation shifted in a big way. So it's certainly something to look at, especially if you've got some high demand charges, as Bronte pointed out, or if you've got some kind of reliability issue on the site.
Absolutely. And so we now might want to move on to discuss some case studies which illuminate how these benefits translate in real life applications. And I'll hand over to you, Pat, to talk about a current RACV project which has some really promising benefits.
Okay, well, this is a project we're working on at the moment. This is Narellan Town Centre. It's a very large shopping centre, one of the largest in Australia, only about an hour away from Sydney. We're currently working through that at the moment. It's one of the largest solar and battery systems in the country. In fact, the largest on any privately owned shopping centre in the world. It's 2.6 megawatts of solar with 10 megawatt hours of storage. So a really significant solar and battery system there. Of course, it will greatly reduce the energy costs and emissions for the site. And these batteries will be able to generate some serious additional revenue. With this particular approach, you can see in the photos to the right of the screen, we often do a 3D model of the site. So we model all of the rooftop obstructions, the building itself, so the extents, the heights of all of the objects are captured there. And we model how much sunlight's going to fall on all parts of the rooftop for the entire year. So we know really clearly exactly which spots are good for putting solar onto and which spots we should avoid. And that way we can ensure we get the best performance out of the solar system without any impact from shading or other impacts. And this system is going in for the customer for $0 upfront. So this is done through a power purchase agreement. We'll be talking a bit more about PPAs or power purchase agreements during the presentation. But the point of a PPA is that we own, operate, and maintain that asset on the customer's behalf. And they just receive a really sharp price on their energy that they receive from the solar system. So if they're paying, let's say, 15 cents per unit on electricity they get from the grid, well, this solar system will give them much lower energy prices for every unit of solar that they consume.
Great, thanks, Pat. And I'd like to tell the story of Delatite Winery, which is a winery in Mansfield. This picturesque site has been on a sustainability journey for the past few years and has the ambitious goal of becoming carbon neutral by 2025. They were interested in exploring how they could expand their existing solar array and how a battery could support their evening consumption and demand from the on-site restaurant. So working with a local installer, Mondo provided the winery with a 99 kilowatt solar system and a 50 kilowatt battery solution for $0 upfront through a 10-year power purchase agreement, which Pat's just touched on. And so as part of that PPA, Mondo monitors and maintains that system for the customer to ensure it performs optimally and that they can have peace of mind focusing on what they do well, which is winemaking. And so this site is forecasted to have energy savings of $13,500 over the contract term. That's after accounting for the PPA costs. And it's on track to help them meet their sustainability goals, with the system contributing to reducing 145 tonnes of carbon emissions each year. So when it comes to assessing a solar and battery solution for your business, a key consideration is available rebates and incentives. There's a lot of noise and movement in this space at both the state and federal level. And so I'll hand over to Pat to provide a bit more detail on this.
Right. Yeah, it could be hard to keep up with at times. I won't go into a huge amount of detail here. The point is there are a variety of ways that you can access government incentives and rebates, and that's our job to help guide you through that. So they're applicable in different scenarios, and we can tell you exactly whether what's eligible in which scenario. But to broadly categorize them, if you're a smaller business or perhaps a medium-sized business, you're probably looking at the STCs, which is in the top line there. So that's applicable to any system that's under 100 kilowatts. And for a 100 kilowatt system, you get about $43,000 in rebates in STCs, which is a pretty significant reduction, of course. So that is eligible. Most businesses, most properties are eligible for that. And if you're a smaller business, you may also be eligible for the Solar Victoria small business rebate. And at the moment, that's $3,500. And there's about 1,500 of those left at the moment. So if you're wanting to get that rebate, you might want to look at that sooner than later, because once those 1,500 have been expended, then it reduces to about half of the value, to $1,750. There's a few eligibility criteria you need to consider. The max system size has to be 30 kilowatts. Your property needs to be individually metered, so no residential property attached to it, no additional commercial properties relating to that particular energy meter. And you need to employ at least one person up to a maximum of 20 people. You need to have an ABN. So again, we can help guide you through these issues and figure out whether you're eligible. And in most cases, if you're a small business, you're probably eligible for STCs and the Solar Victoria small business rebate. So you get two in one go. If you're a larger business, you might be looking at the LGC scheme. Large scale generation certificates is what that stands for. At the moment, they're worth a bit, but they are dropping considerably over time. And you generate that revenue each year for the next 10 years. So any system that's over 100 kilowatts will be eligible to generate LGCs. However, the market value of those LGCs is dropping over time, as I said. So some of our customers are looking at an alternative scheme called VEECs, Victorian Energy Efficiency Certificates, which up until now haven't really been available for solar, but the Victorian government has changed their process, changed the framework so that solar systems can be eligible for VEECs. An advantage of the VEECs scheme is that it's generally more valuable. So each certificate you generate is worth more. Plus, you get all of them as a lump sum payment 12 months after the installation. So that's quite different to LGCs, which is an ongoing annual revenue. And also the VEECs are worth quite a bit more. In terms of program pricing, we're offering about 5% off solar and battery system costs, which is pretty significant. Commercial solar and battery pricing is already really sharp. It's a very competitive space. So 5% off is a significant reduction there. With some of our options, it depends on whether you're paying for the system outright, or even with some finance options, you may also be eligible for an instant asset tax write-off. And you can actually fully deduct that the full value of the asset through a tax deduction. Now, you need to own the asset or have the right type of finance in place to be eligible for that. And there's some other ATO criteria, but again, we can help guide you through that as well.
And Pat, is it worth just highlighting what the timeline is on the program pricing discount of 5%?
Yeah, so if you put in your expression of interest before the program close date of the end of August, then you'd be eligible for program pricing. You also need to be located in the Greater Geelong area, or the G21 regions, so the 5 councils surrounding.
Great. Thanks, Pat. And so having spoken about the benefits of solar and battery solutions in terms of bill savings, rebates, CO2 emission reductions, we just wanted to quantify some of these using some sample business sites and contrast this to the costs of these different types of solutions and size of solutions. So there's a bit going on in this slide in terms of showing you in the first column different system sizes, and in the second column the type of businesses that we've used for this example analysis, before moving along to some of the kind of key financial metrics such as indicative system pricing, post-STC rebate, the first year of estimated savings, the estimated return on investment, the payback, as well as the forecasted environmental impact. I guess it's really important to note and call out here that these sample sites are not representative of all sites in these segments, nor are they representative of the costs and benefits that you would realize as a business if you were to have a similar size system. There really is a lot of variance with system sizing, savings, and costs based on your specific site, your roof type, your space, your energy profile, and your tariffs. But we wanted to provide some visibility around the magnitude of these variables for you.
Yeah, and the indicative system pricing there, I mean, we could even find a lower price for your property. These are quite conservative numbers. It's more or less an average of what we see for most system sizes of those ranges. So, for example, 15 kilowatt system, you're looking at around $15,000. So roughly $1,000 per kilowatt of installed capacity, and that's after the STC rebates and ex-GST. But in some cases, it may be a little bit lower than that or a bit higher than that.
Yeah, absolutely. And a key call out is that the payback period for solar, a solar only system, is around that 3 to 5 years, whereas comparatively a battery has a longer payback, but it also unlocks harder to quantify value streams that aren't represented on this slide, such as value from emerging two-sided energy markets, as well as the value that businesses place on reliability and resiliency. So we haven't overlaid any financing lens on these benefits, but obviously the cost of any financing would be less than the benefits, and there would likely be no upfront capital outlay. So maybe, Pat, I'll hand over to you again to talk about some of the pros and cons of different financing options, which we're able to help you evaluate for your business needs.
Yep. Okay. Well, as Bronte said, of course, you can pay for the system with cash and you'll get some really great returns. If we could just go back to that last slide briefly, Bronte. So you're looking at typically a return on investment well above 20%, sometimes up to 40% in the first year, which is really, really high. I mean, you compare that to perhaps putting your money into property or shares of 8 or 10% or whatever it might be. It's a really, really significant ROI. And often we see systems paid back within 3 to 5 years. So the returns are very significant. If we can move on to the finance slide, we fully appreciate that many businesses don't have the cash available to fund a solar system. They would love to get a solar system, but given what's happened over the past 18 months or so, some businesses are a little bit cash poor. So solar can be a way to alleviate your cash flow issues and put money in your pocket right now. Start saving immediately through finance options like an operating lease, So we have 4 options here. I'll go through one by one, but operating lease is probably the most popular, one of the most popular traditional finance options in the market, so AKA a rental. So in this scenario, a third party owns the asset. Of course, it's $0 up front, so you pay absolutely nothing. Your repayments are fixed, and you can choose pretty much any term length you like. But we make sure that the solar system is, of course, generating more savings than the repayments. So if you're saving more than you're paying back in repayments, of course, you're ahead from day one. So you've got a cash flow positive solution. So that's our job, to help size that up, making sure that your repayments are, or your term length is suitable, and the size of the system is suitable to meet your actual energy needs. So we can go through that with you and figure out which option is the most cash flow positive for your business, and some of the other considerations as well. So, for example, a PPA is a different finance solution. It's quite unique. It's become really popular. And one of the reasons it's become so popular is because maintenance is actually included in a PPA agreement. So with other finance options, you typically need an additional maintenance contract. With a PPA, we own, maintain and operate that asset on your behalf. And so, sorry, we've just skipped ahead on the slides there. So we own, operate and maintain that asset on your behalf. And the objective for us is to sell as much power to you as you can possibly use. So we have a vested interest in keeping that system performing optimally, which is quite unique compared to the other finance options available. So for every unit that we sell to your property, that's going to be at a lower rate than the amount you're paying for your grid energy plan at the moment. So again, your savings will be far greater than what you're paying at the moment, so you're ahead in terms of cash flow. Chattel mortgage is another really popular finance option. That's quite unique. It's similar to an operating lease, but one of the advantages is that you own the asset immediately, and that's mortgaged. Because you own it, technically you're able to immediately deduct the full value of the asset in the first year, and there's no limit in asset value, as I mentioned earlier. So you can get a really significant tax break by installing a system through chattel. We also have environmental upgrade finance available. That's a unique model where you have the asset tied to the building, right, rather than the tenant or the owner. So there's an advantage there because you don't need to secure the loan through providing personal guarantees or other collateral. It's tied to the building itself. Again, it's $0 up front, and the repayments are fixed. Really any term length that you desire, we can set that up for you. But it is adjusted every 5 years based on prevailing interest rates and so forth. You do pay that back through the council rates notice, which is a really unique way of paying back that system, the cost of the system. So many of our clients are looking at environmental upgrade finance, just like these other solutions. So we can help guide you through the pros and cons of each. There's a bit of detail here, but every business is different, and we really like to walk it through with customers and figure out the best option for them.
Yeah, thanks, Pat. And I think this kind of brings us to another key learning from Mondo and RACV's engagement in the community, which is the complexity of how you benefit from solar and battery if you're renting or you have a landlord situation. So Pat, you might want to elaborate this one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is based on a lot of feedback we've got from a lot of businesses in the G21 region throughout engagement with business groups, with community organisations and so forth. This has been one of the big challenges that we've faced to get more solar up on roofs. And In many cases, tenants and landlords aren't necessarily communicating very well with each other, or one of the parties doesn't believe that solar is a worthwhile investment. And I'm wanting to go through some of the ways that tenants and landlords both can benefit from these types of energy upgrades, because in many cases, both parties are just simply unaware of how they can do that. So for a tenant, it's pretty straightforward. Of course, you get the solar up on the roof and you get greatly reduced energy bills, lower emissions, improved power reliability and quality. Get a battery. For a landlord, there's some additional benefits for them. So depending on the type of finance, or perhaps they've funded it themselves, they may be eligible for an immediate tax deduction, as I was alluding to before. The property of the value also significantly increases, again, depending on the scenario, whether the type of finance arrangement that you've gone with. But in many cases, the value of the property is significantly increased. One of the biggest reasons to get solar up on your tenant's property is to improve their cash flow. But just imagine that if any of your tenants are struggling with their business at the moment, or that they're wanting to expand, or, it can be really difficult for business, especially in the current economic climate, to make gains. And this is a really great way of helping them improve their cash flow. And it stops them from having issues down the line. They may default on their rent even and move out of the property, and that can be highly disruptive to landlords and their income. So just keeping in mind that helping your tenants get solar and improve their cash flow ultimately helps your business as well. There's also ways that we can set up a shared arrangement or a shared benefits between landlords and tenants. For example, I've got a client in Melbourne who's a property manager, and they're approaching their tenants and they're saying, well, look, we think we should get solar up on your property because we want to help you out, we want to improve your cash flow, and we want to improve the value of our properties. And we propose that, the system is going to install, that we're going to install will improve your cash flow by perhaps $200, $300, $500 per week, whatever the number might be. We'll put up the rent by $50 a week. So we're getting something out of it as the landlord. We're putting up the rent slightly, but you're going to make much more money in terms of immediate cash flow savings. So there are ways that we can facilitate those discussions with landlords and tenants. Just reach out if you have any questions or you need some help, navigating that conversation. I'd also like to point out that some of our tenants and landlords are a little bit apprehensive to go ahead with the system because they don't know how long they'll be in the property. And so this is a really common issue, that they might have a 3 to 5 year lease. Well, we do have finance options and technologies available that can create a cash flow positive solution within 3 to 5 years. So you're going to be ahead from day one, but we can remove that asset down the line. So if just say a customer decides, okay, it's time to move on from my property, we can remove that solar system for free and move it to another property for the customer. So there's very little risk for tenants and landlords in those scenarios. And so, we can find benefits for both tenants and landlords while they're in the property and really reduce that risk for both parties to relocate should that come to pass.
Thanks, Pat. And I think that's a really good segue to the kind of last, key aspect we want to cover off in this presentation, which is highlighting the unique value that Mondo and RACV bring to businesses that are looking at solar and battery solutions for their businesses. And I think, I think there's been common threads throughout this presentation around being a trusted partner who can help you guide the complexity around some of these different aspects, as well as providing you with the data you need to make good decisions, and having flexible solutions for different types of businesses. But some other ones that we wanted to call out as well is just experience. Based on over 100 years of supporting customers and working on some really large and complex installations. I think Mondo and RACV are wholeheartedly committed to only using quality, tested and reliable equipment. And this is comes down to the fact that we often, with power purchase agreements, are responsible for ensuring that system is performing, because that's how the asset owner in a power purchase agreement arrangement such as Mondo makes money. And so if that system isn't performing because the equipment isn't of a high quality or there's issues, then it's counterintuitive to what the business model is. So I just wanted to highlight that as well.
Yeah, and you know, for any CapEx purchase, if anyone's wanting to fund this themselves, then rest assured, you know, the equipment that we install is rated as 100% bankable by Bloomberg New Energy Finance. So we're really careful about the products that we select. We don't want to come out to site to fix things that are broken. Of course, we're not interested in putting up low quality equipment. So the products that we've selected, as I said, are rated as 100% bankable, which means that renewable energy infrastructure and investors are acutely aware that this is high quality gear based on their reputation, reliability, and they won't reject investment decisions with these products, so that they're very safe and tested products.
And Pat, I'm sure that you've heard a lot of orphan systems in the industry as well. And so on that point, I think it's for peace of mind, we like to emphasize the fact that RACV and AusNet have been around for over 100 years, respectively, and will continue to be there for another 100 years to support customers' assets over their lifetime, so customers won't be left with stranded assets.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate fact of the solar industry that more than 1/3 of all systems that have been installed across Australia have been orphaned. So it means that their installer has wound up or is not supporting their customer anymore. And that's a real shame. And I think given the long legacy and the purpose of our organisations, we're committed to being there for forever, right? You know, we're very confident that with that kind of backing and stability, your investment will be protected.
And more broadly as well, in terms of the G21 community, I think Trina did a great job of illuminating the partners' investment in the Geelong community, in terms of the fact that every solar system that is installed has a solar panel that's donated to a community organisation that perhaps can't afford a solar system but would get great value from that. And so, Pat, am I correct? There's understanding that we're starting to review applications for that community facility as well?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so we're getting applications in at the moment to see who would benefit most from a free solar system. So looking at not-for-profits, of course, community groups that can't afford to put this up themselves, and just donating it to help the local community.
Yeah, and probably the last point on this slide would just be also working with local installers in the Geelong community as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really important to us, to have a strong base of contractors in the local area. So we've got quite a few teams operating in the southwest region now through our subcontractor network. We're really careful about who we select. It's important for us to partner with local installers, but it's also important for them to be great quality installers that are accountable, you know, really sharp with their paperwork administration, as well as their on-site OH&S, as well as the quality of their workmanship. So we very carefully vet the contractors that we use, and we're very proud of who we've partnered with for the program.
And I think the other key differentiator of Mondo and RACV from other solution providers in this space is the use of cutting edge technology. And this has been a thread throughout the entire presentation, but we're really proud of the smarts that we wrap around all the solution components, or the solar and battery components of our solution, to really ensure that those assets are maximizing the value they can access. And so some key components of our smarts that I wanted to call out are clever algorithms, which can orchestrate assets to reduce those build charges that we spoke about earlier in the presentation, whether that's reducing customers' spikes in demand through peak lopping, or shifting their energy during high energy rate periods to low energy rate periods, or even just charging and holding their battery in preparation for weather or outage events.
Yeah, we've also got quite a few customers that we've installed these Ubi devices for. We can control behind the meter appliances, so hot water and heating and cooling and other things, electric vehicle charging. We can control all of those through this Ubi device. So smart controls can coordinate solar and battery power, as well as other appliances on site, maximize savings in that way.
Yeah, exactly. And also Ubi and our Mondo platform have been built with reliability and flexibility in mind. So they perform even when there are interruptions to power and Wi-Fi with backup comms installed as part of those equipment as well. And I think another thread that has come through this presentation is the importance of data and reporting to inform better decision making and better behavior around energy, whether that's upfront when there's a business case that needs to be put forward for decision makers in a business, or whether it's tracking ongoing performance and sustainability, as well as visualizing that and sharing that with businesses, communities, and internal stakeholders on an ongoing basis.
Yeah, we've got some really major clients that have installed these purely for monitoring purposes. They're not actually installing additional solar in those cases. They're just wanting this Ubi device to be able to collect the data, how much energy they're using, and report that, communicate that to their stakeholders for energy emissions reporting. So a major bank is doing that with us at the moment, purely for the reporting component.
Yeah, and the last component is, I guess, the future-proof component of our technology. There's a lot of change occurring in the industry, a lot of exciting new services that are going to be unlocked from more of a decentralized energy market. And we just want to reassure customers that with this technology, your assets will be able to unlock that value as it becomes available. And rather than making a sale and seeing you at the end of that asset life when you're ready for a new asset, we work with customers as partners over the asset life to continuously reassess and re-optimize those assets to ensure they're living up to their potential and unlocking all available value streams. And I guess that looking ahead and always looking ahead is what kind of highlights Mondo and RACV as really strong partners for businesses with these type of solutions. So I guess that's a lot of information. There's a lot of information and misinformation out there. And the purpose of today was really to synthesize some of that information and provide some clarity around the costs and benefits of solar. And to take that a step further, we wanted to offer the attendees of this webinar a free, no obligation solar and battery assessment for your business. So starting with your energy bill and your priorities and challenges as a business, we'll put together a high-level assessment of different solutions that make sense and an estimate of what that looks like in terms of the benefits and the costs.
And of course, if you'd like to register for a free solar and battery assessment, please do visit the Geelong Community Solar website, so geelongcommunitysolar.com.au.
And Trina, before we close, is there anything you'd like to highlight?
Well, thanks, guys. I actually learned a lot in that session as well. And thanks, everybody, for joining us today. We hope that you're all leaving with some really valuable insights. And like Pat just said, don't forget to register your interest for a free solar and battery assessment at geelongcommunitysolar.com.au. And yeah, Greenlight, that's me. We provide complementary services such as commercial and community facility energy efficiency audits, which help inform your future building upgrades and renewable energy priorities. So as the first step on your journey, please feel free also to reach out to us via our website at greenlight.org.au if you'd like to find out more. And that's it from me. Anything else from you guys? No. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks for everyone's time today.
Yeah, thanks so much.